enclave is going to be continued. Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the Norfolk Conservation Commission. It's May 8th. Please be aware that this meeting may be video and audio recorded. Our first piece of business is 102 Cleveland Street, 104 Cleveland, 15 Fruit Street, and 17 Fruit Street. Is the applicant here?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is right here, Dominic Rossi, but my name is John Glossa, Glossa Engineering, 46 East Street, East Walpole. I'm the engineer. So at our last meeting, I had explained the project, so I'm not going to do that again unless someone has a question. But it was a reasonable request from the board, and that was to allow time for Janet to go out and check the wetland flags. And in my notice of intent application that I drafted for Dominic, we noted, based on some conversations that I had with Janet earlier, prior to me filing that it's a possibility that this wetland included a vernal pool. So we hired a woman, her name's Michelle Grenier, and her findings were she didn't think it was a vernal pool based on some regulatory stuff. It has an outlet and this and that. And then earlier today, actually, I'll let Janet speak to her findings, but we met with Janet today, walked the entire wetland, checked the wetland flags, and Janet checked whether she thought it was a vernal pool or not. That's sort of not my thing, so I'm not going to talk about that, but there was one other request, or at least I volunteered to do something, and I will just talk about that quickly, and that is that this house that's proposed here, the septic's actually here, and the pipe connecting it, it's about 90 feet from the wetlands. There was, I thought, well, maybe if we did a little testing in the location of that proposed house, that there might be some area suitable for a septic system, and then we wouldn't have to bring that long pipe across. So I did go out with the Board of Health agent. I think we dug 6 or 7 test pits. It's kind of odd right there. It's gravelly soil, but there is a layer of some sort of silt loam. Massachusetts Title V says you need 4 feet of perkable soil. And they don't, so even though there is 4 feet, we have to sort of add 2 plus 2, and we have that little lens in between. So our conclusion was, for now, it's best to leave it the way it is. Admittedly, I didn't go everywhere I could on that site just because of time and money, but somebody might in the future take another look at that. But right now, I think it's reasonable to assume that this is the way this is going to be built.
That's what you would like, where you'd like to have it.
Yeah, Dominic, Mr. Rossi would like to get his permits, and then, maybe during construction when there's some other larger, it's not that easy to get up there either.
Yeah.
When there's some other excavators there, maybe we'll take another look at that, but for right now, we have essentially 4 areas that the Board of Health agent has said that he would, at the time, sign off on the...
Where are the other 3?
This septic system.
Oh.
Here,
Okay,
and
the
here.
other lots, okay.
Yeah, on the other lots, right? So what I was saying is, that pipe comes not close to the wetlands, 90 feet away from the wetlands, but just to try to keep everything as far away as possible, which was what I tried to do with this design.
Okay.
There's no work within 50 feet, and on the estate lot, there's a little bit of driveway and a little bit of piping that's 90 feet away or so. Maybe the driveway probably not even 90 feet.
But I think you explained the last time that you had done that pipe so you could follow the contour and have the least amount of soil disruption on the entire site.
Right. Right. So if I move the pipe, there's another solution, is to simply move the pipe, but then instead of just digging down 2.5 or 3 feet, you're going to be digging down 8 feet to put that pipe in, which creates just as much destruction as if we put the
Right.
pipe, right? Because it's,
Yeah.
you know, you need a bigger machine, he's gonna make a bigger pile, he's gonna dig deeper, obviously, so, I think it's reasonable, I think it's a reasonable, location to put that pipe. And that's the same with the driveway. I could move this driveway over and get it outside of the 100 feet, but what's gonna happen is, this is sort of the top of this little hill here. But the closer I get to the top of that hill, the more I'm gonna cut and the wider the swath gets. So again, I think that that's a more reasonable location
Okay,
in this instance.
okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, John. Janet, why don't you, let's start with the vernal pools and the flagging.
Yeah, and the flagging, it's been such a rainy season. When this first came in, it was ice out there, and here's the flag on the tree, and ice is way up here, so, and now we've just had rain, so, you know, and there was a filing on this site previously, so it's fairly comparable to where things were before, so I don't have a problem with that. And we were out there this afternoon, had a nice visit. Nobody pushed me in the water or anything. They even carried my bag around for me, which was really nice. But for me, it's too late in the season for doing vernal pools. Usually, for me anyway, but Patriots Day, when kids have that school vacation, that's the perfect week, because, you know, by then, everything, the eggs are out there, you can see them, you can get in, you get out.
You
And
couldn't see any signs?
well, you know, here there's tadpoles, but what kind of tadpoles are there? You know, and you're already getting that film on top of the water. You can't see into the water, so, you know, that's what I said. I can't confirm, deny. You know, I'll let it. They had the person go out there. You know, we just got a report from her this week. So, you know, I said to them, the plan that they did up, and I'm a vernal pool person, but the plan that they did up, you know, I'm okay with this because they did that 0 to 50. With the state regulations, it has to be certified ahead of time. It has to have that number. You know, you can't do it late like this. And even with that, the only protection is where that vernal pool stuff falls in another resource area. So as soon as you get outside of that BVW, under state, there is no, you know, buffer or whatever.
Yeah.
So you've got the local. So they're already going with that BVW. They've done a 0 to 50 do not disturb, you know, so that's what I told them. I have no problem, and I appreciate the effort that, bless you, that they went through where they positioned everything, you know. I mean, I'm not gonna make people wait another year, because you have a certain window, you know, so I think we were fine out there. So that's, you couldn't make any conclusions just going there today,
Did you
so.
bring any fish back?
Vernal pools won't have fish. And there was actually a tadpole in my net, and I ran back and threw him in the water just 'cause I couldn't, so you don't take anything with you. But, so, you know, that being, we were talking about that, I don't think I haven't even checked the computer, I don't think I have order conditions ready, but, you know, for them to give us the 21 days to get that done by the next meeting. But, you know, any of this, you know, they've been very considerate of the resources that may or may not be out there, you know, to try to keep everything as far enough away as they can.
Okay, how
you
about
know.
the septic?
For any of that, and then even too, we were talking about, and they're supposed to be brainstorming for doing some sort of maybe permanent markers on those lots for where that 50-foot do not disturb.
okay.
So for the future, because that's what I said, somebody comes in September, there's no water, you know, they're not gonna know, so if it's marked, you know, hopefully it'll help with protection.
Mark with bales of hay or something? Or?
Well, no, they were actually talking possibility.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
So, Mr. Chairman, so Janet and myself and Dominic had this conversation out in the field, and you know, so typically what could happen is someone moves into one of these houses, they don't really know that there's a 50-foot no disturb that is, you know, in your bylaws.
Yeah.
People don't walk around with those. And in other towns, they have similar 25, 35, 50, whatever they are, no disturb. So, what some towns do, and I do a lot of work in Walpole, so what Walpole does is at certain locations, probably somewhere between 50 and 75 feet apart, and wherever there's sort of bends in this 50-foot no-disturb area, we set concrete bounds, right? 4-foot bounds, and we put them maybe 2 or 2.5 feet in the ground, and they stick up in either on the top of them or on the face of them, depending on how high they stick up. We affix a plaque. So we actually epoxy it and screw it onto the bound. And it says, I can't remember the words exactly, and I was going to bring an example, but I didn't. So it says something like environmentally sensitive area, no disturbance allowed beyond this point per Norfolk Conservation Commission. And so if we set enough of those around at each location, then a homeowner, you know, at least there's something there that alerts them that they're not supposed to disturb the area beyond that. And Dominic would be willing to do that, to have that in your order of conditions.
Okay.
We'll show them on the plan. We can work with Janet to work out the location. And then the other thing, I know your bylaw says no disturbance, but I would make it a condition of your order of conditions that there will be no disturbance within 50 feet of the wetland, and then make it an ongoing condition so that it carries through when you get the certificate of compliance. It will have that wording right in there.
Okay.
So it carries through in the chain of title.
Sure,
So I just think, you know, you sort of
good
little
suggestion.
belt and suspenders. So
Yeah.
mark it in the field, which is important for the homeowners, and then mark it, and then have it as an ongoing condition. So if somebody, you know, at a closing attorney says, well, you're subject to these restrictions.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
okay.
Yeah.
So for the next month's meeting, we could have them written up and approve them and.
Yeah, so what we would ask is you could close the hearing. We'll give you Dominic will give you a release on on having the order conditions within 21 days, and then we can work with Janet,
Okay.
get them drawn up, and at the next meeting, sign them and
Okay.
go from there, if that's palatable to
Yeah.
the commission. Thank you.
Any discussion?
Sounds
Good.
good.
Dominic, anything to say?
The only question I have about, we don't wanna close it before we get the order in case there's something that changes. Then they have to reapply.
No, but we're doing up the order. We're doing up the order of conditions.
Okay.
Yes.
As
so
long
we
as
can
they
put it-
agree
wanna
to
make
push
sure
it
that
beyond the
he
21
doesn't-
days, then.
Have to wait again if we close it.
No, 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 no. It's
Okay.
just, you know, we'll have the paperwork ready for the next meeting.
Okay.
We need his permission to go beyond 21 days because our next meeting's in
Okay.
a month. So, you know, we talked about this out in the field for
Okay.
either or, but
Yeah,
I didn't want you to make a change and then the plans aren't the same and then we come back and then
Start over
we
again.
have to start over again.
Yeah, we don't have to.
Yeah, we don't wanna do that.
no, because if we're closing, this is what we're
This is
accepting
good.
for all
Okay.
of them
All
and
right.
get the paperwork ready.
Okay.
Any questions from the audience?
Any other questions? Sue? Peeking in? Okay, then I'll accept a motion to, close this,
This
these
first one?
4 articles,
Okay.
for the order of conditions, and then, as we just spoke, we'll, have them ready for the next meeting. So
Okay.
somebody make a
You're
motion,
okay to go beyond the 21 days?
30 days.
I'll make a motion that we close the NOI on 102 Cleveland, 104 Cleveland, 15 Fruit Street, and 17 Fruit Street.
Second.
Any other discussions? Okay, all in favor of closing, these 4 notice of, intent, say aye. Opposed? It's passed unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, next up is 273 Dedham Street.
7 o'clock. Okay, 7.
Good night.
Good night, John. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening, Jim Soucy with United Consultants. I mean, if you go to sheet like 4 or 5,
Is that the
Please.
updated one?
yes,
When
this
were
is,
these given to us, Jim?
they were sent over this afternoon.
You know that's not good enough. We're supposed to have them a week in advance, the paperwork and any,
Right, we were with the planning board last week,
yes?
and they closed our hearing, but Beta had a couple of comments that they wanted made to the plan.
But,
Bas-
but
Go ahead,
you
sir.
delivered the plans yesterday, and again, we're being fair to you tonight
Mhm.
by letting you discuss this. We could automatically continue it to next month, and we don't want that for you or the applicant.
Mhm.
You know, we like this program, this project to go on, but this is your last warning, Jim.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. The only change that has been made to this plan from the plans that were here a month ago is we had to add 2 parking spaces up in there to satisfy Beta.
Jim, Janet, could you put the plans out here so we can look at them closely? Are those the ones on your desk? No.
Do you have a hard copy of this, Jim?
Not a complete one. We had sent pages over to Janet yesterday, I believe, because
Yep,
we
we
know
got
she
those.
prefers.
We got those pages.
Right,
Does that show the two?
Yeah,
just one set.
should have everything.
Okay, I'd like the board to take a look at this plan, if you could stand up and come over. Because the 2
Put this
proposed
away.
spaces are 20 feet from the wetland.
Roughly, yeah, but again, we're inside the existing tree line, so we're not.
Okay, but I just wanted to
Yeah.
point out 20 feet within the wetlands.
Now, the pavement does pitch this way and goes to that catch basin, and again, this is all vertical granite curbing
Mm-hmm.
around the edge of the pavement.
Mm-hmm. Okay, why don't you continue your discussion, and then, do you have questions now, Bruce, or?
No, I just, they require that you have 2 parking spaces.
Yeah, what it is, I had in the layout plan and the building plan, I had 2,160 square feet of office/display. And they determined that the display would be considered retail, which has a different
The outdoors.
parking, no, inside the building.
Okay.
All right, so they determined that that had a more restrictive, so we had to break it up between, all right, 900 square feet of office and 1,200 square feet of retail, meant we needed to add 2 parking spaces, so we added the parking spaces. And then, did I send?
Who would access those parking spaces typically?
Typically, what will probably happen with those spaces is right now we had 6 spaces around the rear of the building where the service areas would be. Okay, so those could either be employee spaces or they could be vehicles after they've been worked on can be stored there. I really don't anticipate customers in the public coming into the building, going all the way around and parking there, and then walking back out to the front. We've got, 12, 14 spaces there, 21 here, so there's 35 spaces located around the building entrances, which is where we anticipate the public to use.
Okay, thank you.
And then the only thing, and I didn't send
I'm
the-
sorry, what kind of business is this proposed?
He's got, some vehicle repair and sales of tractors.
Lawn.
Anything
scape.
else in the building?
Yeah, so lawn and garden and then automotive repair? Oh, okay.
Automotive was already existing.
Yep.
And we took over one car.
Okay, and the only thing was in this area here, on the previous plan, we had the temporary sedimentation basin in this area. Well, now with the 2 parking spaces there, the said basin ends on this side. And we originally had 19 arborvitae in this area, to get them to come out and around and down and provide screed around that. I believe we added 3, so we're at 22 arborvitaes now.
And excuse me, is that within an area that was already marked to be paved, or is this
The-
additional?
the,
two that
um,
you're adding in the back, or you wanna add in the back?
Which one's
The
that?
two
Jeff?
parking spots?
Yeah,
No, that was originally just, right across here, and we had some of the habitat.
so now,
Plants.
but now you have to extend the paving for these?
It's about 360 square feet between the two spaces total. We added them, we revised the drainage report, there was no change to the overall runoff off the site. Because now, originally that whole area was running straight off. Granted, it was mainly shrub and woods. But now with that in here, that 360 square feet is gonna run, out and then right to that catch basin. So therefore, it'll go through the helical separator, through the underground recharge, and then the overflow would be discharged to the level spreader down here.
So that got included with Beta's review for changes?
Again, Beta just got these today as well. Now, I know they've looked at them because I got comments on 5 Phillips that referenced the May 7th plans.
No, don't confuse me. So has Beta reviewed this and done comments, or?
No, but again, the only question that was left out when planning board closed the hearing was the question about these 2 parking spaces.
Because they wanted those additional spaces.
Correct.
Does that need to be checked, though, by Beta for those 2 new additional spaces?
Like I said, the plan set and the HydroCAD report was sent to them today.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
they can see that 360 square feet of pavement
Okay.
is gonna have no effect on the overall project.
Okay, what else, what do you want to discuss? We've discussed it before we open up to our discussion on it.
No, I mean, that's pretty much it. The only change that's been made is those 2 parking spaces and just the adjustment of everything around them.
Okay,
What was on the original plan there?
Habitat enhancement plantings.
Okay, so we had a permeable surface beforehand, and now it's gone to non-permeable,
Correct.
but you've changed the catch basin and sloped it
No,
towards the
the
catch basin.
catch basin was there as part of the original design,
Okay,
but from the back of curb towards the wetlands and towards the woods, that shrub area and
Mhm.
existing woods was pitching straight away unattenuated.
okay,
Now, again, outside of the curb line is pitching away, but there's 360 square feet less of it pitching away.
okay.
And the area that is now impervious is running to that catch basin, which was there, to the underground recharge area, to the level spreader. And by running it through HydroCAD, there was no increase in flow off the project. We're still well under the pre-development numbers.
Has anyone driven by this site? Because I looked at it, I was across the street kind of looking at, because I was interested in your plans and what, and I'm not taking any sides on this. All I can see is right now, anything that's on there is running off into the wetlands, and it's all unpaved gravel. So what he's done here, putting in the recharge station and stopping a lot of what is running off now, would be less of any of the finites running off the gravel into the wetlands in heavy rains, and at least coming towards the recharge station, so it's less of an impact overall.
Yeah, plus each one
Honestly, I
of the,
don't like the taking out the impermeable and putting in permeable, but I do appreciate the fact that,
well, we had originally
that-
discussed pervious pavement, but
Yeah.
the planning board absolutely hates pervious pavement,
Yeah.
so we didn't try that. But, again, just to
Improvements.
kind of pick up on, you just said, each of the 5 catch basins is a helical separator on its own. So they provide 80% TSS removal there. So DEP, you gotta have 44% prior to recharge, and we've got 80 prior to recharge, and, close to 90 overall TSS removal between the basins and the recharge areas. And like you said, we've got basically a curb berm around the whole thing, so nothing is getting off of the developed part of the site without going through some sort of treatment device.
And in the retail spaces, you're gonna have, you were talking about like a mulch type of, now is anything that you put on there going to affect some of these catch basins? Like we had that heavy rain last week, could take out a considerable amount of mulch and clog these catch basins. They're gonna jam and then flood into the wetlands.
What it is, as part of the drainage analysis through the planning board, okay, we have to supply them with a long-term operation and maintenance plan, okay? And basically, the catch basins, the outfalls and whatnot, are supposed to be inspected once a month or sooner if necessary. Like if we get one of those storms, then yeah, they're supposed to do a walk around. There's a sheet that they have to fill out and keep on record on the site that shows when the inspections were done, if everything was okay, if not, what remediations were taken. And with the basins, the catch basins themselves being inspected once a month, and they're supposed to be cleaned once a year or when more than 8 inches, I think, of sediment
Okay.
or debris is in the bottom of it, and then they get cleaned with a vac truck.
Now, who manages that process as a follow-up? from
The property owner, and that's part of that O&M plan, is we list right out who the responsible parties are and, you know, the maintenance, and there was even through the thing with Beta, they wanted to know that how future owners of the building would be aware of this, and again, we had to state as part of the O&M that future owners would get a copy of the order of conditions, they would get a copy of the O&M plan, they would be given copies of all of these things so that they couldn't say, oh, we didn't know about this. Well, no, you were given all these documents at closing, you knew about it.
And the enforcement agent is the planning commission? Is that who the reports go to? It's monthly reports? Do you-
I would say, I don't know if they have to submit them every month when they do it, but they have to keep them on record at the site, so if there is an issue, you know, Janet could go out there and say, I wanna see your logbook on inspections and maintenance, and
Okay.
they would present the logbook and she could go through them. Like I said, I haven't seen the planning board's decision yet, but there may be a condition in there where they are forwarded to the planning office.
Okay.
While you guys are peeking, can I ask two
Yes,
odd questions? This is just, this is all basically one parcel, right? Remember the whole thing about it was separate lots, but, so, same book and page, so where that nice big fat line is going right down on the, yeah, that one. If you went a little bit this way, is it still the same property?
In other words, right now, there was lots 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Right,
All 4 parcels are owned by 269 Dedham Street LLC.
right,
Okay, now lot 2 and lot 3 are still separate lots, but under his ownership. And
Okay.
lots 4 and 5 have been combined into one lot,
right.
so we basically did away with
You
the
erased that
center
line,
line,
right, okay.
okay? And has that been signed by the planning board already? So that plan has been endorsed by the planning board.
I just, it's like, if you own it on the left-hand side of that, you couldn't like move it over or add some more, no, but you know what I'm
Well,
saying, add some more
but if
parking
that's
space,
the
no.
lot line,
Well, again, right now, it is my understanding that these 2 lots are under lease. Okay?
Oh,
So
okay,
they really
okay.
can't do
Okay.
anything onto this lot without going to the
Okay.
renter and saying, hey.
No,
you know,
that's
we
fine, at
want-
least it's an answer, cause I'm like, geez, you've got that right over there. You wouldn't even have to come to us if you went over there, because you could be right outside the resource areas, that's
Right.
number one. Number two, this is a Janet thing, but stop it, cause somewhere, I can't see it, but on the back, cause you had a spot for sticker door, I think, and then loading
That's
dock
right in
door or
this area
something?
here.
Okay, so there's a door there, right? But,
Yeah.
well, don't stop, Amy, I'm gonna throw up.
Oh,
Over,
doors
no,
like that.
over on this side here, is there doors?
Then there's doors
Right over
here
there.
for the repair bays.
Okay, well, but couldn't the sticker bay be over there? Cause then you could open up those 2 parking spaces instead of a sticker bay and loading. You know, I know when I go for my sticker, you have to wait, the car comes out and then you pull in, you know.
We do 40-foot trucks, 50-foot trailers. We do large vehicles, you have that area to get them in, and we have to have the depth.
Oh, for them to come in and, okay, so this isn't just the regular cars,
Just the car,
regular,
yeah. Unless you drive a tractor trailer, you know, that's what I'm saying, that's what comes with.
you would just be bringing in the cab, you wouldn't be bringing in the trailer,
No, we
so.
do the trailers too.
Really? Okay. All right, I'll let that one go. Okay. And no, it's just like after all this to suddenly like have this bump out in the back, you know, when everybody's gone through this whole thing with, but like you said, it's in the tree that's, you know, still on this side of the trees. That whole area's been kind of yucky back there anyway. So, I mean, if it's an improvement, oh Lord, you guys are pushing it, but,
Why do you say it's an improvement?
well, it's kind of scruffy back there. That's a nice way to put it, right?
Putting asphalt down is an improvement?
From where it is, yeah. Yeah. But you're also gonna be taking care of, you know, you're including that with all the calculations and everything, so. I mean, if that's the last 2 things you need to have this whole thing go through.
Like I said, the planning board did close their hearing. And it was, again, pending Beta's final review. During the course of the meeting, this was pretty much the only thing that came up, so that's why we addressed that as part of the latest set of plans we just finished up the beginning of this week.
So now does Beta have to get back to planning board on this? Which is a little tricky if they've kind of closed the stuff,
Right.
right? Okay.
No, but I mean, again, you know, Beta agreed that what was still outstanding, if you want to call it that, was very minor as far as they were concerned. We had a 15 to 20-minute long discussion as to whether we should just put the 2 spaces there or go to the zoning board to get a waiver to not have to do the 2 spaces. We had one board member who was on our side, if you want to call it that. He's, you know, we've been trying to squeeze these guys down to the minimum number of parking spaces, and now you want them to add 2 or 3 more. You know, that's crazy, but it came down to pretty much that was the only point of contention. It's been done. Phil received the plans today. He received the HydroCAD analysis on it. And Rich is in the process of writing the decision.
So what happens if Beta wants to make changes or something?
I mean, the only thing it came down to, Janet, was the parking chart we had up at the top that determined how many parking spaces we needed based on the square footages of use. So now that chart has been amended. We split up the office and sales into office and sales. And the square footages of those plus the square footages of everything else. Before we needed 41 spaces, now we need 43. There are the 2 spaces.
So, but what happens, so I don't know how this functions, but say if Beta wanted changes to the plan with planning board, could that be done?
It changes to anything else on the plan beside that? No, because they've pretty much already signed off on the rest of the site.
So
That
you
was-
don't, so my punchline, I think, is, do you foresee Beta having any issues or thinking other changes need to be done to the
No.
plan? Because, okay,
I do
that's,
not.
okay, that's my, it's like, how long do you wait now to hear back from them? Okay. Okay.
Questions from the board? I have one question for the owner. Do you think you need those 2 spaces in practicality?
I need those 2 spaces to get my permits.
No, forget that aside. For your working, do you need them?
No,
Yeah. How many spaces? 43?
43, we went from 41 to 43.
I don't ever have 43,000.
If you advertise properly, you know, you might,
I'm concerned that we are infringing in an area, and we don't like to get that close, to the wetlands. You could do this by special permit, like you had mentioned.
Correct.
Through the zoning board, correct?
but devil's advocate, if you look way down along the street, you know, they're basically up on the BVW line because that's where disturbance has been going on, you
Yeah.
know, so, I hate playing devil's advocate, but, you know, on the whole, I think with the whole project and, you know, proper stormwater and everything and plantings and everything, I think from how it's been used or abused or whatever, hopefully this'll kind of keep what people do in that box.
Right, well, like
know?
you say, basically you've got, you know, a 2 or 3 acre area of gravel that's running unattenuated to the wetlands every time it rains. Now you're gonna have a paved surface, granted, but going through a drainage system and actually outletting about half of what's running there now,
Yep.
but it's clean. And then everything that's outside of the paved area is vegetated. So there's really no bare earth flowing towards the wetlands this way here.
So it's, what you can see from the road is very little vegetation, so there would be a high chance of runoff.
Yeah.
Sediment, especially sediment, because it looked pretty rocky, so
Yeah,
my
it's
estimate, that
very
means
gravelly.
all the fines have already been washed out. So,
Yeah.
Right, but and granted, there's a little more paved area there, but it is all being recharged back
Yeah.
into, and being done properly.
And in
So-
Janet's words, an improvement.
Absolutely, I
I mean,
agree.
I think the sooner the project is done, the less impact on the wetland areas around there, because the wetlands abut, go straight through parallel to the side of that
Mm.
Right.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a stream that runs
Yeah.
down between the golf course and the,
Yeah, and then there's the intermittent stream that comes along this side of the property, which is basically the drainage outfall from 1A. There's like 4 or 5 catch basins that are right there at that intersection.
Yeah.
That just come near the head wall and go, which is what's created the intermittent stream.
I
Okay.
don't suppose they're inspected once a month either.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, any other questions? Based on, I guess, the comments and all, we could take a vote to close this and do an order of conditions for next meeting?
Can we get the okay to do beyond the 21 days?
Yeah.
Thank you. No, I mean, that's it, if it's all wrapped up, you know.
Right.
I mean, everybody's been tweaking and everything, so.
Okay. Entertain a motion to close NOI 240-601.
I move to close NOI 240-601 hearing for 273 Dedham Street.
Second?
I'll
Any-
second the motion.
Oh, Jim already did.
Okay,
That's okay.
I'll third it.
Yeah.
Any other further discussion? So if this passes, then we'll write up the order of conditions, and they'll be ready for the next meeting.
Great.
And we'll approve them and sign them, and you're off on your way.
Thank you very much.
Okay, all in favor? Say aye.
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 Opposed? This passes unanimously.
Great. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Did we get, Jim, did we get a full set yet?
You get electronically, I can get you paper if you want.
Hello, yeah. Thank you.
2 copies?
There should be one for the file and one for Jan to scribble on, and two, please.
paper sets. You'll have them tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay, the enclave is going to be continued until 6/9,
Nope, 6/12,
6/12, I'm
June
sorry.
12th, yep.
At 9.
Yeah, 9 o'clock? No. why don't we go ahead and put them at 7 o'clock? Amy?
Okay.
Need to make a motion.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to move the Enclave, 240-610, continue to June 12th at 7 PM.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes.
Who made that second, Alex? Very nicely done, 6-0, okay. Enclave.
Okay, our next line of business is 17 Standish. There is nobody here regarding that.
Yep.
So we'll just put that on for next month. Yeah. Can they go under old business? Or is that
Wasn't-
still
I
an
forget,
appointment?
what is the issue with the,
No, we can keep
It
that
was
going.
the plantings,
oh.
and he had given one picture, and
Mhm.
it was like you have to identify and do it now versus when he did it. So, should we just keep it at 7 o'clock too, or 7:10?
We can do under old business if you want.
And then,
Yeah,
then you
let's do
don't
that.
need a time.
Okay.
Old business. And I don't know, and we'll have to make a note to give them, because the homeowner had a consultant,
Yes.
conservation had a consultant. And those consultants were supposed to work that out, because there was, discrepancies or discussions or whatever, so they were supposed to work that out. He was denied his final paperwork, and that's expired, so, it's not
Can
on.
you follow up with our consultant and find out where that is, or?
Well, no, because that was back when we had the public hearings and everything
Yeah.
going on, and when they wanted their final paperwork, so. That was years ago, and now suddenly here
Oh.
it's like, I want my
So
paperwork.
it's all on him?
Yeah, it
Okay.
basically is. I mean, it was specific what he was supposed to do or
Detail,
not
yeah.
do, and,
No, I
You know,
read the minutes from that meeting, and there seemed to be more than a discussion of just the vegetation. There seemed to be discussion on the height of the wall.
there was a lot of, right.
And that I couldn't tell whether it was supposed to be 3 feet and he built it 8 feet, or there was some discussion about the wall, and that seemed to be more of the issue than the actual plantings that he was talking about.
Well,
So
for
that's
a
where we need
while,
some
there was a
clarification
problem
on.
with, when they were doing it, the wall was supposed to be here and it got put over here, so they had to get the wall because this was supposed to be all cleaned out, and that's where the plantings were to go, so there
Okay,
was a
So he
lot of,
extended that grass area then?
well, in front of his house, from
Yeah.
like more lawn in the front, but, and then it was supposed to be certain plants that went into that area that all the, fill from the years came out of, certain plants, so, just, it's difficult with a picture. You look at a golf course and you say it's 100% green, vegetated, but there were supposed to be specific plants that went in there. So whether or not those plants made it in and how many made it, those are the plants that were supposed to be in that area. So just saying, look at how much coverage, but it's hard with a picture, what are
Well,
those
what's his
plants?
due
But
diligence
that's-
if he planted them and they died? How long
But-
is he supposed to maintain these for? Is that in the order of conditions?
Well, there was a problem with things dying, but there was certain types of plants that were supposed to be in there. So if something dies, you get another plant and put it in there,
Okay.
So that's where that paperwork all ended up. Now, here's the paperwork that says you should have this, that, and the other thing. Have this, that, and the other thing if you want that. So there was, the whole house, everything, the house, the driveway, the plantings, all of that was part of that filing. So there was a lot of different parts that went into that, so.
Okay, we'll wait for him to come back. Yes?
When are you going to go into executive session?
Now, we'll make a motion and take a roll call, and after the roll call, if it's in the majority, then we'll go into executive session.
This is not yet.
No,
Okay.
no, about a few minutes,
Sure.
yes. Okay, so the next part of our business tonight is the Conservation Commission will be going into executive session regarding 144 Seekonk Street. Jim, if you would please make a motion.
I move that the commission enter an executive session under MGL C 30A, Section 21A, exemption number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation regarding 144 Seekonk Street, and that the following persons be invited into the executive session: Janet Malongo, Amy Brady. Further, that at the conclusion of the executive session, the commission will reconvene into open session to continue the business of the meeting.
Okay, this doesn't require a second. I declare that the open session will have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the commission. We'll take a roll call, and as we do it, please state your name and yea or nay. Alex?
Alex Whiteside, yay.
Alexander Ferrer, yay.
Bruce Jacobson, yay.
Jim Wilson, yay.
Fred LaBerge, yay.
David Turi, yea. We're now going into executive session for about 10 minutes.
What time do you get home off of that?
I usually leave my house by 6, and I
Where
get
do you
home
work?
at 7:30. Downtown.
Oh, downtown.
So I take the train, which is nice.
It's like a movie from your time, David, Eight Angry Men.
My time. Okay. We are now in open session of the Conservation Commission on May 8th, 2019. The next item of business is review the minutes and approve them. Everybody should have sets of April 10th and April 17th of this year. And once you have them read, or if any additions, corrections, we'll take a vote.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for April 10th and April 17th.
Okay, there's been a motion to approve both sets of minutes, April 10th and April 17th of 2019. Any discussion? Yep. No? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. The next item of business is 17 Keeney Pond. They want their COC, so we need to take a vote on that.
Just a vote to allow it.
Yeah,
Allow the full COC.
To issue.
to issue it.
Janet, should we issue it?
I'm sorry.
Should we issue it?
I would not have a problem with that being issued.
Okay.
I
A
move
full
to-
COC.
I move to issue the full COC for 17 Keeney Pond.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, 106, 108 Main Street, Boyd's Crossing.
Signature.
We need to request for an extension of the OOC because their 3 years are up, and so they want to just continue that. So I'll entertain a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to extend the OOC for 106, 108 Main Street, Boyd's Crossing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Is there anything else anybody wants to bring up at this time? Then, at this point, I'll entertain a motion to close the meeting.
I move to close the meeting of May 8th of the Conservation Commission.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. The meeting is now adjourned.
Ellie,
Thank you.
every time I read the meetings,